Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the divisional round of the 2023 NFL season. My name is Joe Dolan. That's Tom Brolley. Thomas Tipple behind the glass. We got Butterscotch and Crimpet over here. My wife is going to be home from her run any minute now, and they are going to go absolutely wild. But that is just the nature of live television. Welcome to the show. As Tom and I are going to go on the point spread and break down every game from a betting perspective, side, total, and props for the NFL divisional round. T-Bro, how'd you do in the wild card round? Our two bullshit teams got eliminated.
Yes,
and honestly,
thank God. We don't have to
watch.
We don't have to go through that pain anymore of watching our teams play. What a relief. I am so fired up for this weekend because of that.
Yeah, it'll be nice. And you got to see the Browns go down, but the Ravens haven't yet.
4:30 today. We'll find out.
well, let's talk about how'd your bets go last weekend, by the way?
That was good. 3-0 on the wild card ATS picks. 3-3 overall. So good thing, I identified the ones that I liked the most and bet those and did well on those. 5-3 on the player props. Had a couple near misses. Jaylen Warren had a 16-yard catch on like the third play of the game. And then had one catch after that for 0 yards, so missed on that prop. That was a kick in the nuts, but pretty good weekend overall. Like a lot of the stances that we've taken already. Hopefully you're a subscriber and have been following the article. A lot of line movement on most of the props, towards the direction that I placed these bets. So hopefully you got on these earlier and got some good lines, but we'll go through all the picks and we'll see what's out there for everybody.
Tom, I know last week I complained about commissioning that one and done.
Yeah, the playoff one.
Yeah, you might have just seen my face. I literally just got an email from somebody who said, "Oh, no wonder I didn't do well. I thought you had to submit the same lineup for every week." So what he did was he put Lamar and McCaffrey in his lineup last week, and he wants them back.
Oh gosh, I guess you can't
do that.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you can manually, but I heard you also had some troubles with our friend Travis, who somehow co-signed, co-ownered a team.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck's going on. We need to figure that out. But Tom, let's help the people. That's what people want. We're going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens at 4:30 against Houston. Tom, the Texans are getting 9.5 on the highway, 43.5 the total. Baltimore well-rested. Lamar, the MVP. Houston, a very impressive performance last week. The weather is going to be cold, potentially a little bit of snow in Baltimore, maybe wind. So
43 mile an hour. It's like right on that fringe where it's kind of affect passing games. So not ideal condition. We have a Houston team coming from down south that plays in a dome. So that could play a little bit of a little potential into this what we're handicapping here. But this line's been 9.5 mostly all week. It touched 10 a little bit at the beginning of the week and quickly got bet down. So I lean towards the Texans in this one. The injury report is pretty good on both sides. Clearly, Baltimore has had more time to rest up here. They even had the chance to rest a lot of their key players in the season finale against the Steelers. So they're working with 3 weeks of rest coming into this game for some players. So although it wasn't enough for the one key injury in this game is Marlon Humphrey is out at cornerback for the Ravens. That's good news for Nico Collins and Nico Collins props. His prop is around 80 yards, 5.5 catches. So he's clearly been the top weapon here. Noah Brown, that was the big news out of Houston earlier this week. They put him on the IR, officially ending his season. He's been banged up all, the entire second half of the season. And that means a bigger role for John Mechie and Robert Woods and these tight ends as well. So that's the big injury news coming out of this game. And I'd lean towards the Texans. I feel like this price is a little inflated. Based on my power ratings, if I mix in the home field advantage, I'd probably make this a 7.5, 8-point spread here. So I think there's a little bit of value towards the Texans. And of course, with CJ Stroud, I don't go the Dogs.
There
Mom's home. with Stroud and with Nico Collins, I think the back door could be open here. If it is a 2-score game late, obviously, we had a game last week where Mason Rudolph could not get in the back door. I think CJ Stroud is a little bit, better equipped to maybe do that if it's a 14-point game late.
I feel like I know what the answer is here, Tom, but these two teams played in week 1. Do you have any look back to week 1 when you're handicapping this game? By the way, the Ravens won that game 25-9, and interestingly, it was the same spread. It was a 9.5 point spread. I think both of these teams are better than we thought they were, which is why it's still a 9.5 point spread. But man, when I think back to that week 1, I'm pretty sure I was like, man, that's kind of the CJ Stroud I'm expecting. Like, they don't have great weapons. Like, I don't think they're going to put a lot of points on the board. We have two very different teams, certainly.
I've even just watched a little bit of the highlights this week just to get a little bit of a refresher. And I thought it at the time, and I was like, wow, this CJ Stroud can play a little bit. I know the numbers weren't great in that game. I think he had like 243 yards on like 43 attempts.
Didn't throw a touchdown.
The numbers didn't pop out, but you could tell that there was something there. And you're right, this was like a 9.5 point spread. I think I remember betting on I think my lean was towards the Ravens in that game. In our staff picks, I gave out the Ravens, but just fascinating now that the Ravens have moved up to the top of the power ratings and the Texans have made that big of a jump that this line is still a 9.5 point spread. They're probably, thinking back on my numbers, probably about touchdown difference from where they opened the season. So that tells you just how much these teams have improved since then. I don't take much out of it. Even if you go back, Baltimore was not very impressive in that game. It was the first game with Todd Monken and a lot of these new pieces working in a new offense, and their offense wasn't very impressive as well. Despite the 25-9 score, it was a lot of defensive work for the Ravens in that one. So not very much to take out of it, but pretty fascinating just how these teams are the same point spread since week 1, but just the path that they've taken to get there is pretty fascinating.
Did you hit any props in this game?
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
I did hit the one that has moved against me a little bit is Dalton Schultz. I gave it out over 3.5. It was a plus 100 at DraftKings. I think it's up to like plus 120 now. Just like it. Just looking back in recent weeks, Baltimore's playing a lot more too high safety. A lot of it is because of the teams they've been going against, but they played the Chargers, Chiefs, 49ers. A lot of good passing offenses. So they were playing a lot more two safeties, and that's opened up the middle of the field a little bit for tight ends. And I have it in my notes here that 6 of the last 7, games, they've given up 4+ catches to tight ends when they've had their starters in the lineup. So Noah Brown also being out, the point spread where it is, could lead to more pass heavy game script here. So I think Schultz could be a little bit more involved. I guess I am a little bit. I think just Brevin Jordan making a big play last week, I think that might be affecting this, why this one has moved against me a little bit of all the props I've hit. I think, Brevin Jordan has made a couple plays down the stretch, so I think maybe that might be affecting that line. The other one I gave out is, 2 tight ends here. Isaiah Likely. This is the day of the tight ends for me here, looking at my props. I got Isaiah Likely over 34.5.
That had to have moved since they ruled out Andrews.
Well, it came out. So there was no prop on Likely or Andrews. I guess we didn't really touch on that. That was, kind of a big piece of news here as well on the injury front. Andrews, they're given, he practiced in full all week, but it seems like they're ramping him up for maybe next week, and seeing how his body takes a couple full practices here. So saving him. So the props didn't come out really for the Ravens receivers. They were pretty light until Friday morning when the news came out. Opened at 34.5 at FanDuel. It's been bet up to 37.5. I still think there's a 36.5 out in the market. I thought it would open up 38.5, 39.5. So I think there's some value there. He's been up over this number in his last 5 games with Lamar. Houston's been pretty rough against tight ends all season. 5th most receiving yards per game to the position, and then we saw David Njoku go nuts in this matchup last week. So liking Isaiah Likely over his number. For one and done, I'm actually that's one of the players I'm using this week. Just thinking that, maybe I'll have the potential to use Andrews in future weeks. And I like the matchup a lot here for Isaiah Likely. And I got to be a little different. My one and done team did not start off too well.
Oh, I was ass last week.
Me and you. I think me and you are like right next to each other at
we got beat by an 85-year-old woman.
I made a lot of bad decisions. I stacked Jordan Love with Jaden Reed, who of course went scoreless. Even my kicker got me 2 points. I had Riley Patterson from Cleveland. So a little bit of a rough start. So I got to go a little more off the board with some of my one and done selections. And I think I also have Devin Singletary in this game as well. Yeah. Ravens have been run against a little bit here down the stretch. So that's something to keep an eye on here. I'm sure they're going to, with the weather, with the cold conditions, I could see them coming out trying to run the ball a little bit here to see if they can get control of this game.
Let's move on to the Saturday night game, which is Green Bay at San Francisco. San Francisco laying 10 pretty much across the board, Tom. 50.5 the total. Wind will not be a factor. Rain will tonight. It is going to rain in San Francisco, as it is wont to do in the Bay Area. Green Bay at San Fran, warm but rainy in the 50s. 50.5 the total, so they are not really taking that weather into account. They expect a lot of points scored in this game, an implied score of roughly 30-20 in favor of San Francisco, Tom. Green Bay, the stars of the divisional round, Jordan Love has announced himself. Do you have a play on the side or the total in Green Bay at San Francisco?
Yeah, this is the one I do have a play on. I have the Packers plus 10. Gave that out early in the week. It was pretty solid, 9.5 across the board for most of the week here. But the San Francisco money is rolling in here this morning. It is pretty flat 10s across the board I'm seeing. So, if you've been waiting to get on that Packer side when it was at 9.5, you can jump on it now. Maybe even watch the market here a little bit. Maybe we see a 10.5. I don't think we will, but I don't know if those 49ers 9.5s are coming back here. The money is coming in here late for the team that's rested. Another spot here. It's very similar to the Ravens where they were able to rest a lot of their key players in week 18. So injury report looks pretty good for them. Clelin Ferrell is the only guy that one of their many pass rushers that they have at their disposal. They're a little thinner here this week, but other side is the big question for me. Jair Alexander was playing really well last week against the Cowboys and aggravated that ankle injury. Looks like he's going to try to play, but I mean, major concern here that he re-injures that and he's not, it is a short quick turnaround with a short week, six days to prepare for this game. So that's the one injury I'll be watching early in this game to see just what version of Jair Alexander we get. He was playing pretty dominantly last week. Christian Watson's another guy I'll be curious to see here. As I said, I'm way behind and one and done, so I'm rolling the dice and playing Christian Watson, hoping we can get one of those blowout games from him where he goes 3 catches for 90 yards and 2 touch. Just hoping for one of those performances. Got some work in last week. Was about 35% of the snaps. I think 35 to 40% of the snaps. So maybe with another week, he's a little healthier, a little bigger role. But injury-wise, that's about it on for this game.
Did you hit anything in the prop market here, Tom, with San Francisco and Green Bay? I wonder. I'm actually using Jaden Reed in one and done this week. Okay. I was like, I wonder
hope you do better than I did with Jaden Reed.
I wonder if they're going to go back to him. Jordan Love didn't have to throw many passes. He just averaged about 35 yards of completion in that.
Well, that's what I was about to say. That's I wasn't even mad. I used Jordan Love last week, and Jaden Reed's their slot receiver. He's kind of the shorter A-dot player for them, and the Cowboys were just letting Romeo Doubs run wide open 20 yards down the field. So I wasn't even that mad at Jaden Reed's goose egg last week because it was kind of by design. All the deep shots were working last week, but I don't necessarily. I think there will be a little bit better game planned here from the 49ers defense. I don't think they're just going to have letting guys run around wide open in the secondary. So yeah, I do think Jaden Reed should have a bounce back performance. I think his yardage number it's one I looked at quite a bit. It was like sitting around 42.5, 3.5 catches. It didn't quite get there just because of just looking at the participation numbers last week with them back to full strength, they were rotating a lot more. These wide receivers, of course, they're working in Wicks and John's boy Bo Melton is still in the mix. So Jaden Reed wasn't on the field quite as much as we had seen. So that's what was kind of keeping me off of those more appealing numbers this week, because he was about 50 receiving yards last week, 4.5 catches. So the props have gone down, but also, his playing time has as well. Prop wise, Jordan Love, I'm on it again. Going back to the well with the Packers, catching the points, and back to Jordan Love and his passing yards number. Got it at 242.5. I think it's at 246.5 now. So still a bettable number for me. I thought it should be in the mid 250s again. And that's a number 256.5, 256. He's cleared eight of his last 10 games. And even if we look back at San Francisco, they've been, that's the one way to kind of beat them. It's tough to run the ball on them. If Jordan Love gets a little bit of time to throw. The San Francisco defense has given up 246 in four times in weeks 11 through 16 before, they face Sam Howell and Carson Wentz in the final 2 weeks. So, I'm liking a potential shootout here. Of course, we'll be keeping an eye on the weather, but from what I was even looking at this morning, they're thinking that the rain might get through the area a little early and might be done by the time the game starts. So weather does not seem, as far as big as a factor as it was for a lot of the games last week, it doesn't seem to be as big a factor this week. And it looks like this forecast has been getting better for this San Francisco and Green Bay game. I also, there was one more prop. I gave out Kittle as well. Complete my tight end props for the week. Got it 48.5.
That's always a risk to go with a Kittle prop.
What's that?
It's always a risk to go with the Kittle prop.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's always going to be two of these, out of Brandon Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey. There's always like two of them that are going to go off. Maybe a third. Sometimes all four do. But I do, I kind of like this matchup against the Packers. We saw Ferguson in garbage time last week really go nuts, but they play a lot of cover 3, around 40%. That's, from our fantasy points data. It's about 4th most, looking back at the regular season. And he was averaging 2.73 yards per route run, 23% target share. So if they continue to run a lot of cover 3 here this week, like George Kittle in this matchup, of course, that the receiving yard, the receptions prop is like sitting 3.5. He needs the big receptions, but he led the tight end position in yards per route, yards per route run and receiving yards overall. So he's very capable of getting over this number with just a couple of catches. So, and I'm expecting a back and forth. I do lean towards the over in this game, 50.5 points. So I do think he'll be a little more involved than usual. And even if you look back over the last couple of weeks towards the end of the season, he's been up over this number, 54 yards. He's been up over 8 of his last 10 games. So he's been involved more than you probably realize over the back half of the season.
Let's move on to Sunday, Tom. Tampa Bay takes on Detroit, 3 p.m. Indoors, obviously, at Ford Field. Detroit laying 6.5, depending on where you look. I don't know if that's going to get to a full 7. Another high total, 49.5. Detroit's defense, not very good. However, they're going to provide more resistance than whatever it was the Eagles threw out there last week against Baker Mayfield and the boys. 6.5 the total, Tom. 49.5. 6.5 the spread. 49.5 the total. Tampa Bay on the highway. Do you have a bet on the side or the total in this one?
I do not. This is one I've been kind of waiting out. I was hoping we'd get some 7s with the Buccaneers and I might jump in, but I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, it did touch 7 a little bit at times this week, and as soon as it hit 7, was quickly bet back down to 6.5. So all indications are this is moving the other direction. There are some books, as you said, showing most of the books have 6 at this point. FanDuel's the lone holdout here at 6.5, but even there, it's minus 115 towards the Buccaneers at plus 6.5. So this looks like it's going to kind of settle at that 6.5 point range. I don't think I'll be jumping in at 6.5. I kind of want the full 7 here in this game. Lions, I will say their defense, they buckled down last week in the red zone. That was the difference in the game. Rams moved the ball all game, especially in that second half, but they could not score touchdowns against the Detroit Lions, and that's kind of how their defense is built. Very stout against the run. You're gonna have to throw scoring touchdowns against them if you're going to score, and that's kind of. I think this is the most intriguing thing about this matchup. I mean, we have Mike Evans, long history. He's the best guy down near the red zone. If he gets one-on-one coverage, he's proven it throughout his career. He led the league in receiving touchdowns this season with Tyreek Hill. So I think that's going to be kind of the difference in the game is if the Buccaneers, can they score touchdowns when they get down inside the red zone? Can Baker Mayfield find Mike Evans? So I lean towards the Buccaneers here, but I'm with you, Joe. How much last week was just the Eagles' complete crappiness, and how much was Tampa Bay?
I mean,
because there's a lot of guys running wide open.
Yeah. Baker had 2 bad games. Now, I will say this: when it comes to the player props market, and also one and done. Look at Crimp back there peeking in. So you're there she comes.
There she comes.
Yeah. In the player prop market, Mike Evans had like 2 really bad drops in that game. Yes. Baker had him for a touchdown. I think it was the Buccaneers' first or second series, right down the right sideline. He dropped it. He had one down the left sideline later in the game that he dropped. I think Baker is probably going to say, "Hey, we can get after this secondary," and he's going to go to Mike Evans in this one.
Yeah, and we saw that last week. Aaron Glenn was they were having troubles getting home, so they were sending a little bit more and giving the Rams opportunities for one-on-one matchups here. So that you kind of led me into it. Those are 2 of my favorite props this week. Unfortunately, they've been kind of blown out as the week has moved on here. I got Mike Evans over 64.5 receiving yards. I think it's up to 70, 71.5. That's about where I thought it would open in that low 70s area. So we jumped on that and hammered it. As you said, he dropped a 47-yard touchdown pass. If we look at the numbers, Detroit, over their last 10 straight games, they've allowed a lead receiver to get to 68 or more receiving yards. Of course, we saw Puka Nacua go for a $180 and a touchdown last week. So loving Mike Evans, even at 71.5. The value's been kind of taken out of that, but I'd still lean heavily towards the over on that one. And Baker Mayfield was the other one. This line opened up way too low. I don't usually like to bet a passing yards prop after I hit a receiving yards prop, because it's kind of like going all in on the passing game. If Baker tanks, I have 2 props that are going to lose, but this number was about 15 or 16 yards too low, in my opinion, when they opened it. It was at 244.5. It has been bet up to about 256.5 is the last I saw it. So it's kind of in line with where I think it should be, but that's what's going to be fun about this game. Both of these teams have really good run defenses. This is going to be a very pass-heavy game, in my opinion. They're not going to want to run into brick walls on both sides here. So, both of these teams are pass funnel defenses. I think we're going to get a lot of passing in this game. So give me Baker over, even at 256.5. I still like the over there. Detroit's allowed, the 4th most passing yards per game at 268.5, basically. And we saw Matthew Stafford throw for 367 yards last week. So give me a lot of passing props here for the Tampa Bay side on the road here.
Unfortunately for you, your roommate has to wait until tomorrow night for his bullshit team to take the field. Are you making any food for Kansas City at Buffalo, Tom?
Nothing special. I'm doing some chili today, for the Ravens and the Packers and the 49ers and the Texans. So I'm just going to have leftover chili tomorrow. But this is good. This is a fun one here. This is the NFL doing it right here, finishing the weekend with Kansas City and Buffalo. Another chapter in the growing storied rivalry here. So I'm excited for this one. Spread's been 2.5, 3 all week here. Anytime it gets to 3, it usually gets bet back down to 2.5. So I would be all over the Bills here, minus 2.5. But this injury report has me very concerned on the defensive side for the Bills. Taron Johnson looks like he's gonna play. He's going through concussion protocol. Gabe Davis is out. Christian Benford, cornerback, is out. Taylor Rapp is out. It looks like Terrell Bernard, the linebacker here, is going to try to play. So this is a defense that has been dealing with injuries all season, and this is an ugly injury report coming out of that Steelers game on Monday. Quick turnaround with the short week. That does have me concerned, but I am leaning towards the Bills getting the monkey off their backs here. But I don't know if I can lay minus 2.5 here. I do think this is a true toss-up kind of a game here.
It looks like weather will not be, in as much as negative or 20 degree temperatures, sub-zero temperatures, or sub-freezing temperatures can't be a factor. Yeah. But it looked like they're getting their snow out of the way today. Tom,
it kind of looks like the game the Steelers and the Bills played. It seems like a very similar type of forecast there. Temperatures around 15 to 20 degrees and 10 to 15 mile per hour winds. Nothing that should affect the passing games too much.
What I am doing here is I'm really hoping, because I need to come back in our one and done. I am hoping for a 38-35 Bills win in a shootout.
You're loading up.
I'm loading up on Kansas City in this game because I feel like people might save Mahomes just because it's Mahomes, but he hasn't been Mahomes this year. So even if I do load up on him, it's one of those situations. But Tom, I do lean towards the Bills as well. Now, my question to you is, with all these injuries, Stephon Diggs has a foot injury. I know
that was another one here. Hell,
he got a limited practice.
Even the punter has a hamstring injury, Joe.
Oh, God, it looked like he got shot when he was chasing down the that was a big play.
He did slow down, I think it was Herbig that picked that up. But yeah, that's even something to watch, because this, I know you wanted to shoot out, Joe, but this is of the 4 games, this is the one where I lean towards the under. I do think this could be a kind of a field position game a little bit. I do think, even we saw it last week with the Chiefs, they were going on those long, methodical drives. The Bills have kind of turned to that kind of team since Joe Brady has taken over here, which kind of leads me to my one prop. I gave out James Cook over his rushing yards. It was at 58.5. It's been bet up 61.5, 62.5. But we've seen him much more involved in the running game here since Joe Brady took over. And that's one thing you can do on this Chiefs defense. It's been really tough, but they allowed 4.6 yards per carry in the regular season. Buffalo has, a negative pass rate over expectation since Brady took over play calling. So I think, this is a team that it has changed their colors a little bit. They changed their stripes a little bit. I also have Stephon Diggs under his receiving yards. I did get that before. It's a tough matchup against L'Jarius Sneed. We saw him, basically shut down Tyreek Hill outside of a long touchdown last week. And Diggs, this was before the foot injury though. So this prop has dropped by 5 or 6 yards the last time I checked. But I still like Diggs under his number. It's been a lot of short area targets for him. Not a whole lot of downfield, targets outside of that Dolphins game when he caught a long bomb in that one. But other than that, it's been a lot of dinking and dunking with Stephon Diggs. So I took his under 66.5. I think it's around 61.5, 60.5 now at this point.
Hey, look, you're Tom. We got Tom behind the scenes. You've got to get to your chili.
Oh, yeah.
Thomas Tipple has got to flip his damn steaks. He's marinating some steaks.
What are you making, Joe? It sounds like feast that we got here.
I'm going to a 1-year-old's birthday party at 2 p.m. So,
it sounds like some old pizza or something, or I don't know.
Yeah,
what do they serve at a 1-year-old's party? I don't
know. They'll do it up. They're my next door neighbors. They'll have something. They'll have something nice for him. And I think the old man, his birthday's tomorrow. So it's like me and my dad. My dad and I was born on the 24th of July. His birthday was the 25th.
So it sounds like you might have to share a little bourbon with him or something for his birthday.
Yeah, I might have to do that for him. A little day drinking before the Baltimore Houston game. My dad when I was I guess when I was in utero, My dad was like to my mom, well, can't you hold off another day? And she was like, you try it, buddy. Like, like
my uncle Dave was April 20. I'm an April 23rd guy. My uncle was April 24th, and I was born at like 10:30 at night, and that was what my dad was, the family was telling my mom, come on, hold out to midnight. Get Uncle Dave and Tom to share the same birthday. Yeah, my mom's like, F that noise.
Screw you guys.
This is done. I am done with this. April 23rd is good enough. So
shout out to Dottie, the 85-year-old woman who currently leads our playoff contest. Tom, we should get her on the live stream. Because
I was going to say, if she wins if she wins, we might have to have her on the podcast or something. I'm rooting for her. I mean, I'm pretty much out of contention after week one. It's going to be tough to come back from. I'm going to need like some miracle happenings in this game, which is certainly possible in the playoffs. Small sample size here, but I'm pulling for Dottie. I hope she whips all, because we have a pretty good crew here. A lot of people from the Fantasy Point staff and contributors, and a lot of people that know a lot of fantasy football. So I'm rooting for Dottie to bring it home here. I'll be following her name here at the top of the standings starting this week.
So for Thomas Tipple and Tom Brolley, I'm Joe Dolan. Thanks everybody for watching this edition of the Point Spread. Our guy Keno is like, I can't believe I woke up to these faces on. I was like, yeah, talk about a nightmare. Waking up to you and I, T-Bro. I got to go get some coffee. It's been a good morning. Thanks everybody. Thomas, go flip your steaks. Have a good one.